Hi everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I plan on talking a book that I recently finished. It is Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood. And I just plan on talking today about my thoughts and my opinions on this book and just giving a review. Basically what this book is about is it is about a physicist. Her name is Elsie. And she is working as like an adjunct professor, and it's kind of like an entry-level position, I suppose, in the field. And she's really struggling to make ends meet. She's not making a lot of money. Her job doesn't even offer health insurance, and she does have type 1 diabetes, which is a very serious health condition, and it can be pretty pricey. There's a lot of supplies you have to pay for when you have type 1 diabetes, insulin, supplies to check your blood sugar levels. She's using an insulin pump, which is very expensive as well. So it's definitely a very expensive condition, sometimes even with health insurance. So, especially with her not having health insurance in her job, it's really a struggle for her to afford everything that she needs. And so she does have this side job where she does fake dating. So she will, it's an app, and she will get connected with a person who is looking for a fake date for the night. Maybe they just don't want their family to know that they don't have a girlfriend, or maybe they have a business event, they want people to think they have a girlfriend, whatever it may be. But she does go on these fake dates and, pretends to be their girlfriend. And this is how kind of she makes her extra side money. And there's one guy she's been fake dating, and normally she only, it sounds like in the book, does it once for the person. It's just like a one-time thing. But there's one client that she has that she actually kind of really likes him as a friend, and she agrees to kind of do this multiple times for him. And she goes for a job interview to get this higher up position at MIT, where, she would pay better, she would have health insurance, and it turns out that the brother of the guy she was fake dating is on this interview panel, and she would potentially be working with him if she were to get the job. And there's a lot of tension with this character, because it turns out that, everything that he learned about Elsie from her fake dating his brother, she thinks he's lying to his brother, and there's a lot of tension. And then also because it turns out that he's kind of her professional enemy, so to speak. So Elsie works as a theoretical physicist, and Jack, this guy, Jonathan Turner Smith, he is a experimental physicist. So I guess in the past, many years ago, he had written an article, and this article had kind of bashed on theoretical physicists, and it was mainly due to a certain theoretical physicist who happens to be Elsie's mentor. It's portrayed that this article kind of ruined her mentor's career, and Elsie kind of owes a lot, or she thinks she owes a lot to this mentor, because he helped her get a job, helped her be successful, helped her get into school, and she feels like she wouldn't be anywhere without this mentor, and she wouldn't be successful if it hadn't been for this mentor. So there's, a lot of tension between her and this character because of this article that was written. Elsie views it as this article kind of ruined her line of work, that theoretical physicists didn't get the, respect that they deserve, and, there's this tension between the experimental and the theoretical physicist. So, it's an enemies to lovers romance. They have that background where there's that, kind of tension and the enemies. And over the course of the story, they kind of start to develop a relationship. I did very much so like it. There was some parts that were kind of cheesy, and there were a lot of points where it almost felt to me like the author was trying a little too hard to make the characters seem quirky or interesting. And that's not just Ali Hazelwood. That's been in a lot of books I've read, Colleen Hoover books, the Emily Henry book I did read, Happy Place. I feel like this is not a Ali Hazelwood thing. I feel like this is just something that a lot of, modern authors seem to do nowadays. At least in my opinion, it comes across as trying a little too hard, like I said, to make the characters quirky. But regardless of that, I still did like the story. That would be my main complaint with the book, which isn't really a big one. You know, that's just a small critique that I have. But other than that, I thought the story was really well done. I liked the character growth and development. You know, Elsie is portrayed that she is a people pleaser. You know, part of the reason she's so good at this fake dating is she's very good at, you know, molding herself or making herself appear to be somebody she's not. You know, she kind of tries to see what she thinks the other person wants from her, or the answer, or, you know, kind of the personality that they want her to be, and she kind of molds herself into that to kind of fit what she thinks people want around her. And throughout the course of the story, and along with her love interest, she kind of you know, realizes that that's a problem, and she starts to kind of be more honest with herself and other people, and to just be herself. And I really liked that character growth and development throughout the story. I liked the, not just the romance aspect, but that it also took place where she is trying to better herself as an independent woman in a career, especially a male-dominated career. I mean, the STEM field in science and academia tends to be very, you know, more male-dominated. And I do like the focus of, you know, women being in this field and being successful as well. And so I felt like there was a lot happening, but it all really came together very nice, and it worked very nice in the context of the story. And I felt like these characters seemed very realistic to me. They seemed like they could be actual people, and that just to me made the story that much better. And, you know, it made me grow very attached to the characters, and it made the kind of romance and everything more meaningful and impactful to me. I do like the representation of the type 1 diabetes in this story. If you guys watch my channel, you may have heard in a previous video, I actually do have type 1 diabetes myself, which was part of the reason I was interested in reading this book, was because I was kind of interested to see, you know, how it was portrayed, especially by an author who does not have type 1 diabetes. I was a little nervous. There can be a lot of misconceptions and things about type 1 diabetes, and I think it was very well done. You know, there are parts in the story where a lot of people think that people without diabetes can't have any sugar. And I mean, and certainly eating a lot of sugar is not healthy for people with type 1 diabetes at all by any means. And I mean, even people without diabetes. But it doesn't mean we can't have sugar at all. You know, sometimes we actually need sugar if our blood sugar is low. But even if our blood sugar is not low, and we occasionally in moderation want to have a treat, you know, especially if we know the carbohydrate count and we're able to account for it, you know, when we take our insulin. Like, again, by no means does that mean that should be something we're doing all the time, but it can still be included in our diet just like other people. That is represented in throughout the story. You know, there's a scene where the character has a piece of cake. There's a scene where the character drinks some hot chocolate. And I do like, too, that it shows and it kind of represents her love interest, and he's very supportive with her diabetes. He, you know, she seems very apprehensive. Like I said, she does drink a cup of hot chocolate, and she seems very apprehensive at first. And her love interest actually shows her the label and says, do you need the nutrition information? Do you need to know the carbohydrate count? Which is something that we do when we have type 1 diabetes. We look at the carbohydrate count, we, you know, take the amount of insulin we need accordingly. And I thought that was very nice and supportive, you know, of her partner. And there's also other scenes throughout the story where the partner is very supportive of her type 1 diabetes. There's a scene where she stays the night at his house, and she needs to go and change her insulin pump. She wears a pod, which is a little just kind of like pod or patch you wear on your skin, and it kind of just, you know, administers your insulin. And there's a scene where she needs to change it, and she says she's going to go up in his room, and she's just going to take a minute to go do that. And she says, you know, I'm just going to go away to do it. I know people can get very squirmish about it, and, you know, she's just going to go do it in private. But he actually says, no, like, show me. Like, I want to know how you do it. I want to know, you know, he wants to know about her diabetes and, you know, how to help support her. So I thought that was very nice. There's also another scene as well where he brings her a small snack. They're at a party. And he brings her a little bag of almonds. And, you know, this is very nice, too, because, like I said, we do have to count carbohydrates. We take the amount of insulin we need for the carbohydrates, but sometimes it's nice to have snacks where we don't have to worry about that. You know, just a small snack where very low in carbohydrates, where we don't need to worry about it spiking our blood sugar. And so, you know, it shows all these things that he does, and, you know, it shows that he cares about her and is supportive of her and her diabetes. So I really liked how that was done. I liked the ending as well. I'm not gonna, say what happens because I don't want to spoil the ending for anybody, but I think, like I said, it is an enemies to lovers, and I think how the ending was resolved, it was very well done. I really, really very much so enjoyed it. So overall, I really liked this book. It gave me, I don't want to say butterflies quite, but those giddy feelings you feel when you are kind of, falling in love with somebody for the first time, and, it definitely feels that way. Like I said, I feel like the characters all felt very real to me. It was exciting. I kept wanting to read. I kept wanting to know what was going to happen next. Very, very good read. I would rate it at 4.5 stars. Like I said, if it weren't for the overly quirkiness, the cheesy parts, I probably would have actually rated it a 5 stars, but I still very much so enjoyed it. I think a 4.5 stars is still a very good rating. I would highly recommend this book to anybody, who likes romance, who likes reading about, science and women in STEM. I did read another romance book recently. It was called Happy Place by Emily Henry. And unfortunately, I was very much so looking forward to this book, and I didn't like it. I rated this book a 2-star rating. And not to bash on Emily Henry or anything, this is the only book I've read by her, so I don't know if I'll like any of her other books yet or not. But Love Theoretically was kind of everything that I was hoping Happy Place would be, but wasn't for me. It was that rom-com-y vibes. It was the fun romance, those, giddy feelings from the romance. I very much so loved Theoretically. So, and I know Ali Hazelwood has quite a few other books, especially about women in science and STEM in academia. She has The Love Hypothesis, Love on the Brain. I do think I would like to read some of her other books in the future, very much so since I did like this book. I'm going to give it a little bit of a break though, just because I heard a lot of the books are very similar. They follow very similar plot and characters, and I think I just want to give it a little bit of a time before I read them too close back to back to kind of forget a little bit about this book, and then kind of feel like it's almost like it's its own novel, I guess. So I'm going to give it a little bit of a break, but I probably will come back to some of her more of her books in the future. There is another book by Ali Hazelwood that I do plan on reading a little bit sooner. It's called Bride. And it is basically a story about vampires and werewolves. So it's more of like a fantasy book. So I think that it won't be too similar to Love Theoretically, that I think I can read it a little bit sooner. And I am kind of curious because throughout Love Theoretically, she actually references Twilight a lot. It's the character's favorite movie. The main character, Elsie, it's her favorite movie. And so I'm wondering if Ali Hazelwood has a very, strong love of Twilight, and that's kind of why she's included it in this book. And I'm kind of curious to see if Bride is, kind of Twilight inspired. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting based on, what Bride is about and, the Twilight references from Love Theoretically. But I will be interested to kind of see that when, I do read it. So yeah, that's my review of Love Theoretically. Like I said, 4.5 stars, very much so a good read. You guys can let me know what you guys think. If you've read Love Theoretically, you guys can let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you guys again in another one. Bye.